We need to ban expulsion now!
Call 40.
Don't beg for 30% of you. That, obviously, not smash the living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it. So you guys don't miss out on some awesome content. So why the long sigh there? We still have people crying at the top of their lungs. Ban expulsion, please. Well, I actually want to present something interesting to you here that I actually just saw on Road to the King, and then I actually just got told about from my friends because my little friend group likes to go through and watch Late Night DB just out of full curiosity, you know, some of the matches that they run into, and they actually ran into this twice, actually last night. So kind of something interesting to really give some consideration to. So what you're going to be seeing over here on the side is Road to the King, a Super Heavy Samurai list. Now, the first thing that you're going to notice about the Super Heavy Samurai list is there's a gimmick puppet in the main deck, and then there's Albion down in the extra deck. And the first thing you are probably looking at yourself going is, well, you know, we just need to ban the gimmick puppet. Well, you ban the gimmick puppet, we can go to DD Orthros, which will lock them into Fiend. We can go back to Raw's Decide. You kind of see the problem here. All right, so what is this list trying to do? Well, what this list wants to do is, you know, little Cleafort Genius down there in the extra deck, that cool little card that says, hey, when you essentially ramp up for the Pendulum Summon, resolve a search from your deck, and you can search for the gimmick puppet. Oh, okay. Well, with the gimmick puppet, you go Cyberstein, special summon the Albion. Yeah, you can do that at that point in time. And then guess what? You get the gimmick puppet down, you Albion it on over to your opponent's field. Yep, that's as crazy as it is at this point in time. What's the purpose of doing this? One, we're in YCS weekend here. Stupid little gimmicks like this are always going to be the prime real estate, and you've probably once again realized to yourself, wow, Cyberstein's the culprit of something amazingly broken again. You guys remember the whole Mystic Potato thing? Yeah, I remember the whole potato thing. You know my favorite thing about the entire potato thing? Didn't have any... nothing happened with it in the OCG. It's really cool that you can do gimmicky things, you know, and you can pull them off. But when the gimmick reaches to the topper end of the competitive spectrum, because we gotta remember, gimmick look cool, gimmick exciting, gimmick get all of the Yu-Gi-Oh players up in arms, get them flinging poop at each other, getting them all rattled up. I mean, that's one thing, but if it doesn't actually show up in application, that's fine. But what you have over here is, oh, the stupid idea actually got to the competitive scene. People are starting to test this. Now, I will say that, you know, this has been floating around for a little while, I guess. It's been popping up a little bit from what I was told. I haven't seen it on the top end of our side of the game. I just want to point that out, right? Across a majority of the I would say a majority of the regional builds. That's why we're going to use air quotes majority, because there'll always be lists that, you know, we don't get the chance to see because, you know, we can only get so much information, you know, from the community together. But I just want to point out from what I've seen, this hasn't been a thing. But then we go back to the entire expulsion argument here, you know, like, rabble, Despy is such a broken deck, you know, you can gimmick puppet lock your opponent. Well, that's cool. Guess who else can now gimmick puppet lock your opponent? Yeah, Super Heavy Samurai. Also, I mean, to be fair, this deck can also do what? Like, it can Gotham's rip cards from your opponent's hand. I've seen some buy-steal shenanigans with this deck to top things off. I mean, the degeneracy... hold on. We also can't forget that there's an FTK that you can also do with this, with Masaru. Alright, so you got hand loop shenanigans, you got buy-steal interactions with Dissipator, you can FTK your opponent with this deck, and now we can expulsion lock our opponent with this. Those are 4 very, 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 very out there ideas that you can bring to the table with Super Heavy Samurai. All right, but in the grand scheme of things, yeah. The whole point is just to tell people, yeah, sure, getting expulsion locked, it sucks. Yeah, that's cool. But once again, you're pointing fingers at this deck being the only culprit. And, like, this is unfair that this can do this. And we look over here at Super Heavy Samurai BS chart number 5, and we're like, oh, well, that's cool. Anyway, yeah, Super Heavy Samurai, you keep doing what you're doing, man. You're a cool new innovative deck. You're so exciting. Like, they're doing the same thing over here. Hello, pot, meat, kettle. It's fantastic that this is how we go through the cycle of Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, let's rewind here for a second. All of our problems would be solved if we just didn't have to deal with Cyberstein. Let's call it what it is. Cyberstein is the root of all absurdities in the game. And of course, well, Robbie, Imperm's running around right now. Yeah, Imperm is running around. Sometimes, but not all the time. There's Valor, there's Gamma. Hand traps, they exist. All right. Actually, hand trap count is at an extremely all-time high at this point. So, pulling off the gimmick, oh man, the gimmick of the gimmick puppet might not be, all that entertaining to some. But be aware of what's going on here. YCS weekend here. A little bit additional thoughts here. I think we could see something like this in Swiss. I say that because this has already been running around in the back for a little while. There's only been like really regionals in the US. So if this is really like some super like tacked out thing that's going on here, they would save it for the YCS. We typically see a lot of things like this, a lot being kept secret. And when it comes to, I guess we can call this an innovation. When it comes to an innovation like this, it would definitely, there'd be people testing it to see if it could work. But if somebody actually perfected the system for, trying to get the gimmick puppet to actually work with expulsion, there is a very, very high chance that it could be lurking around out here for the format. Or, maybe expulsion is just, no, it's not expulsion. Looking at how data played out for last week, I talked about everything yesterday. Looking at like numbers and raw representation, yeah, Despia did do better for week 3. It took 3 weeks for this deck, who is still playing behind, by the way. I do want to point that out. Comparison to the other 2 best decks in the format, it's really, really behind. And I think a lot of people are going to continue to underestimate that because, the longer that these decks are forced to play behind in the metagame, it's not going to be good. And I think, like, fortunately, Expulsion Lock is one of the things that keeps the deck just a smudge, just a little bit, on the radar here. But alas, we'll have to wait and see. So, yeah, degeneracy at its finest, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players crying over things and then looking at other things and going, well, that just doesn't make any sense. I can't believe that. And it's like, yeah, one deck in the format, is the giant scarecrow, and then another deck here is going, this is actually pretty interesting, all things considered, but that's what we're looking at. So, everybody playing in the YCS this weekend, if you're watching the YCS via blog or anything else, best of luck to everybody. Don't get Albion Cyberstein shenaniganed if it actually shows up. Or, on the possibility of some other stupid idea actually floating around out here. Yu-Gi-Oh!, even though formats do get solved very, 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 very quickly, there will always be something out here that can wrench you. And, you always need to be aware of these sorts of things. Because going into the games totally, I've got this all figured out, will actually ruin your day. So please, leave a comment down below. Who's to blame? Expulsion or Cyberstein? I'd rather have Cyberstein gone and keep Expulsion, but what do I know? Patrons! Thank you! Ugh.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.